This clip will be entitled Healthy Japanese Society and Ill or Sick Societies of Europe, or European Society. Of course, there is no United Europe yet, and I doubt that it will ever be, but you know what I mean. So I know that Japanese society has its flaws, every society does. For instance, there is still these Burakumin people. Burakumin are the descendants of the socially lowest class, the people which can be easily recognized by address, by name, by family names and so on, and they are still disadvantaged sometimes when it comes to social and political privileges that are distributed by the government. There are other problems, like for instance the presence of criminal organizations which are incorporated within society, the very special and peculiar status of Yakuza, the Japanese mafia, for instance. Yakuza functions like totally legal company, and in fact cooperates with the police. There's some sort of a contract between the police and the Yakuza. Yakuza tries to support the police in fighting petty crimes, street crimes like grabbing one's bag on the street and so on, in districts which are controlled by Yakuza. In the same time, Yakuza is in some sort obliged to avoid killing anybody, but and to limiting the exertion of violence. So just beating up, not killing. I think in some maybe perversive way it's very rational. The same applies to so Japanese society is not without flaws, but we can observe that also the both left and right in Western Europe are full of praise of Japan. For instance, Japan is a society that have a very so-called generous, very ample social welfare system, and it's not always good because it's limiting the growth of the GDP, for instance, and this is the main reason, not just the declining population of Japan, but this is the main factor that causes the very slow or even non-existent sometimes growth of GDP. But for this particular reason, the left is full of praise for Japan. There's very ample, generous social welfare system. Also, there's no problem for the European left, for instance, in Japanese society, when it comes to weapons. Japanese government is persecuting everybody who would like to possess weapons. It's very hard to obtain a license to have a firearm in Japan. Even the mafia, the Yakuza, is not using firearms really. So it's the regulations are very harsh indeed. So there's no problems like, for instance, like the European, Western European left would have with the United States, and indeed has with the United States, like that United States is too much free market oriented and not against using firearms. So this is another problem. I've tackled this problem in another clips. So there are things that the left would approve of Japanese society, but there are also things that maybe they would disapprove, like too much, like for the European leftist, just the Japanese who is working in a corporation and who is thinking about his boss like about his other father or an uncle with whom he has a very special relationship. This maybe this can sound abusive to European leftists, but in the same time they are a little bit limited in their power to criticize Japanese society, because it would endanger a little bit them and expose them a little bit to the danger of being politically incorrect, because Japanese are maybe, I don't believe in races. I think the races don't exist, but there are different